Now, guys, we've got to do this. We have to do this because you all know how much I'm loving FC26 on the Nintendo Switch 2, but it has a massive problem. What's going on, CaiLifers? It's your favorite FC26 Nintendo Switch 2 creator, and I'm back for another FC26 video. Now, if you just cannot get enough of FC26 content on the Nintendo Switch 2, remember I'm dropping videos on the daily, including live streams. You can check out the Manchester United career mode that I've got going on, which has started pretty well. And I'm dropping everything from tips and guides to the hottest meta players that you could and should be looking out for in Ultimate Team. And don't forget to come and join the CaiLifer FC26 Nintendo Switch 1 and 2 Discord. Link is in the description. And that's going to become very, very relevant as we get into this video. Now, guys, we've got to do this. We have to do this because you all know how much I'm loving FC26 on the Nintendo Switch 2, but it has a massive problem. In fact, it's got quite a few problems, so let's get stuck in. So the first problem we have is the transfer market. Now, of course, we know that the transfer market on the Nintendo Switch 2 is a closed ecosystem, and I've spoken about, I think, the virtues and the positives, and also some of the negatives to do with that kind of closed ecosystem. But the transfer market certainly is showing itself to be a bit of a problem. Now, as you can see here, at the time of recording, we've got around 35,000 players on the transfer market at the moment. Now, in pre-release, sort of, in the Ultimate Edition release in that first week, we were between around 19 and 27,000 players live on the transfer market. So this number has gone up and will continue to go up now that the Standard Edition has been released. And remember, the Standard Edition has only been out for 2 days. Well, this is the third day that it's been out, so give it time. The problem here, though, is that we're having a bit of a problem with the buying and selling on the market. Now, you would have discovered already, just as I have, that it's pretty damn difficult to sell players because there aren't necessarily a whole load of buyers. Lots of people are pulling very decent cards either in packs or from SBCs or the Foundation objectives, and so cards that might make us a lot of money are already owned by a lot of the player base. Now, the problem with this is that if you struggle to sell a player, then it discourages you from using the market. And obviously, if you struggle to sell a player, you're not going to make back the money to actually buy anyone. And the thing is, if you just got a whole load of players who are discouraged from using the market, then nothing really happens. Now, one of the pros about this is that you can absolutely snipe some absolute bargains, and I would recommend digging in and just having a bit of patience and like looking through some of the sort of further along pages in the market, because you can get some absolute bargains. The problem here generally is that it's much harder to complete and fulfill any sell-based objectives, and that's going to mean that we're all going to be, at least temporarily, hoarding players. And that's not necessarily terrible because it does mean that we're going to have players in SBC storage, but it does mean that it's going to be way harder to make money from FC coins this season, and if people have less money to spend in game, they'll be less likely to afford higher priced players. Now, what does this mean? This means, my friends, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, oh, we're gonna get a crash. We are going to get the mother of all market crashes, and you want to be ready for it. You want to be ready for it. But anyway, listen, that might be a bit of a pro, but not necessarily, because what's going to happen is that people are going to have to sell pretty valuable items for not much money, and it'll be a bit of a race to the bottom, and then there'll be a bounce again. But of course, the additional problem with this is that it makes a bit of a mockery of EA's big push to nerf the power curve. Now, of course, they basically spoke out and said, we're going to nerf how quickly and how easily people are going to create these massive OP teams too early in the season. And they're doing that through just scaling the rewards and making sure that no one's having like peak Ibrahimovic or Haaland just like within the first week or two. The problem is, and it's not really a problem for EA, but it's a problem for us, is that might sound well and good, but what it does is it ultimately just encourages and pushes people to buying packs from the store, to just get those OP cards from the store. And that's not great. That's not great practice. And it ends up just artificially accelerating that power curve again. So was that EA's plan all along? Now, secondly, and these two things are intrinsically linked, but it's this dreaded screen. Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's finding rush games. Now, I haven't actually had that much of a problem with this, and I'm just going to show you this footage that I took earlier, and I did have this screen twice in a row, And then the third time I got into a game, and in fact every subsequent game, I played about 10 games of Rush in a row and had no problem after that. But of course this is difficult because Rush usually requires that you have to matchmake with 7 other players. It's not like clubs or rivals or seasons or anything like that. You have to matchmake with 7 other players, 3 teammates and then 4 opponents. And the times that I've struggled to get a game, it hasn't been finding the teammates, but it's been matching with the opponents, because obviously it takes time to find your teammates, and then you have to wait, and then you have to match with your opponents. And some people are just going to give up, or some people are going to struggle to get into that lobby that's being filled. Now, this is genuinely a region-specific issue, in that as someone that's playing in Europe or a Western European server, I haven't really had that much of a problem with it. But I know from speaking to you guys in the community and to people on Reddit that depending on where you are, I know that North America is really struggling with finding Rush matches, as is South America. There's a really interesting case with someone who's from Brazil, and the Nintendo Switch 2 console itself is very expensive in Brazil, so fewer people are buying the console, so fewer people are buying the game, and so matchmaking is really difficult. Now, what is the huge problem with this? The huge problem with this, and this is a really moronic thing, and apparently this is all to stop bots just being able to infiltrate the market too soon. But you have to complete certain objectives to even be able to unlock the transfer market. And also, when you complete those objectives, there is a 24-hour cooldown. It's so stupid. But what it does mean is that you have to play Rush games to be able to even get towards unlocking the transfer market. And if you're struggling to matchmake in those Rush games, then you're not going to have a market. And if you don't have a market, then us guys that have unlocked the market also don't really have a market. You guys are locked out and struggling to be able to contribute and help sort of stimulate the economy, essentially. That's what we're doing here. The market and FC coins, it's all its own economy. And so we need as many people to be in that economy. So what I will say is that if you're struggling to find Rush matches, but you're managing to have it happen now and again, stick with it, because you're going to make it happen. It's just going to be slightly infuriating as you get that objective done. Secondly, for you guys that already have access to the market, but you're frustrated by the lack of movement and that sort of unstimulated economy, have some patience, because those guys that have just got the standard edition and only had it for 2 days, some of them are very unlikely going to have had enough time to be able to get even if they do manage to get those Rush matchmaking games happen, they're not necessarily going to have had the time over the last 2 days to fulfill enough of those objectives to unlock the market. So just have some patience. As I say, we're already up to over 35,000 cards on that market, so we're starting to climb. But as I said at the beginning, if you're struggling to get those Rush matches in, or even if you're not struggling but you just want to be part of a really positive, fast growing community, then click that link in the description and come and join us on the Discord, because I've added a channel in there which is driven towards matchmaking the people in the Discord who need to fulfill those Rush objectives. And I'm also going to start doing a once or twice a week live stream where I try and bring us all together and I help you guys with trying to fulfill those Rush objectives too. Now, for you guys that have been following my FC26 content closely, you'll have been on board with the absolute meme that was me pulling the Icon Oliver Kahn card and then unpacking from completing an objective the Yanor Black, a Yanor Black 88 rated card. So I had 2 god tier goalkeepers, and then I accidentally submitted them both in separate SBCs and lost them because I am an idiot. But however, that does bode well for me, because as you can see here, I was trawling the market for keepers. There are loads of keepers, including some extremely good goalkeepers on there. And I managed to cop this Gulashi card, who's 85 rated, for only 7,500 coins. And this guy, like I say, very highly rated. He's 6'4", so he's a tall dude. Listen, there are bargains to be had. And like I say, there will be a crash at this rate. I think we're going to have more players and more cards reach the market as people unlock those objectives, but there will be a crash, so be ready for it. However, my call to EA Sports would be to recognize that this is a problem. And yes, okay, we might not get a cross-play transfer market. It might be kind of great, but we would be susceptible to the kind of snipe bots that kind of plague the other versions on Xbox and PlayStation and PC. But what I would like to see EA Sports do is to offer region-based incentives to us Nintendo Switch 2 FC26 players on Rush. So make them time zone friendly, but try to just bring everyone in a certain region together, say within a 1 or 2 hour period, and really incentivize bringing as many people in those regions together at the same time, so everyone can come together and help each other, not just to get that matchmaking done, but to complete these objectives. Now, there are some other little glitches, but they are not Nintendo Switch 2 specific. One of them, as you can see in this video, is related to not unlocking things that you have definitely unlocked and not being able to get the rewards to objectives that you have completed the entire block of. And sometimes it requires just going out of the sub menu, sometimes it requires you leaving Ultimate Team altogether, sometimes when you turn off your Switch 2 and come back in it's sorted, and sometimes none of these things work and then randomly you'll just get the reward a little bit later on. Now, this isn't Nintendo Switch 2 specific, but holy damn, it's annoying, especially when you have got time-sensitive things to complete, and obviously you just want to get on with other things and also claim the rewards that you have rightfully grinded for. Anyway, look, having said all of these points, you guys know I am thoroughly enjoying FC26 on the Nintendo Switch 2. And honestly, I am enjoying this FC more than I've enjoyed any FC or FIFA for years. And part of that is still the absolute pro of being able to just pull my Switch 2 out of its dock, go and sit on the sofa, go and lay in bed, and just get on with playing this game. Let me know how you're finding it, whether you agree or disagree about any of my points, and let me know what content you want to see from me. But hey, until the next video, you know how we do. Take care, much love, and peace out. Thank you so much for watching the video, but wait, before you go, let me tell you about the joys of becoming a CaiLifer member. That's right, by supporting the channel with a CaiLifer membership, you'll get instant access to a whole chimney's worth of perks and incentives, and not just access to a bunch of exclusive channel emotes. That's right, aside from the unique emotes you can use in live streams to either support or troll the hell out of me, you'll also be bestowed with an ever more powerful CaiLifer sword to show off your continued and valued support for the channel, ranging from a wooden weapon all the way up to the legendary sword. But that's not all. You'll also have access to members only content such as member exclusive videos, priority viewing of content in advance, a bonus competition entry to any giveaways I do on the channel, priority for playing along in multiplayer and community based live streams, and pre, mid and post stream and pre-recorded video shoutouts. Listen, I always massively value the support of my viewers and community, and this is my way of giving back to you for your support to the channel. So become a CaiLifer member today, grab your CaiLifer sword and join me on the journey. But until the next video, take care, much love, and peace out.